First thing on the agenda is the notify that we're being taped by Area 58, and it will be shown on the local stations at a later date. I would like you all to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We called this meeting for a hearing on
To your complaint by
complaint
Teresa
by
Renaud
Teresa Renaud. And because of the sensitivity of it, it could involve employees of the town, I'm going to move that we go into executive session.
And the board can do this under exemption 1 of the open meeting law to hear a complaint about a town employee. The employee has certain rights in this matter. Mr. Andrews has been notified of his rights and was notified more than 40 hours in advance. He has the right, if he wishes to have the hearing or the matter, it's not a hearing, but the discussion be done in open session, but if everybody agrees, we can do it in executive session.
I'll second the motion if that's what you want.
I'd rather be in open session.
I'm just gonna tell John you have to leave.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just you don't have to leave. God, please, it opens up. So he can continue filming?
Yes, right, yeah, it's open session, we're just going to wait for everybody to get in here. So, I would recommend the board start off the process by hearing from Ms. Renaud. She's the person who made the complaint. If you have any statement to make to the board.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I actually had originally sent this complaint in some time ago, and if anyone needs a copy, I have them. So basically, here's my statement in regards to an accusation that was made against me.
And the person who made the accusation,
Was Mr. Andrews, who is currently here sitting selectman.
and can you summarize what the accusation was?
Basically during a meeting, Mr. Andrews stated that some records were destroyed. And at another instance, in an email, he stated that records were destroyed by the secretary, me being the secretary at that time. And on a third occasion, he did it during an open meeting during the Board of Selectmen's meeting.
If the board has questions of Ms. Renaud.
Any further information you want to add, Tony?
No. I'd just like to say that as far as I know, and I'm the one being accused, I did not destroy any records.
Were there any particular records that Mr. Andrews indicated that you destroyed?
He did not specify.
Was Mr. Andrews in search of any particular records at the time, or?
He was requesting to see some certain records
Concerning,
concerning the Amanda's estate suit that is presently before the town.
so these were records that pertain not necessarily to the suit, though obviously the suit is adjacent to what is going on, but these were records that had been submitted by various parties, and I'm not trying to be pun intended here because the party trust is one of the interested parties, but these would have been site plan documents, or these would have been other letters, correspondence, applications.
Yeah.
And this is something that Mr. Andrews is a party to, correct?
Yes.
Did anybody else hear any of these accusations? Was it-
I'm assuming anyone that was at the meetings and anyone that may have viewed the tape or read the email.
And this is on the recorded tape?
Yes, recorded through Area 58 and digital recordings.
And this went on the air?
I believe so, yes.
I don't really have any questions for me at this time.
Do you have anything?
Not of Mr. Renaud?
You had a couple people that you wanted to speak on your behalf.
Yes, two of the also town employees. Our last know is a coworker, and Mr. Piccirilli is my supervisor, who I work with daily. So I believe if there was anything to have been witnessed, they would have been party to it.
Rob is the building inspector and zoning enforcement officer. He's your direct reporting supervisor. You directly report to him. Do you have any statements or any information about this?
Yeah, I believe, and I'm going on some emails that Terry may have received. I believe it started off with an accusation that the documents were lost at first. I believe there was an email that stated that she lost the documents and that Mr. Andrews wanted her to sign something saying that she lost the documents. And then somehow along the way that accusation turned into the documents being destroyed. I wasn't involved in anything necessarily verbal, but I did see some emails and whatnot across the desk.
Does the board have any questions?
Were the accusations specifically that Ms. Renaud destroyed the documents?
I believe based on the fact that it was the planning board secretary at the time, that it
Which
was then specific to...
by inference would be her, yes. Okay.
I guess my question would be, did anyone see you destroy anything, or did you destroy any paperwork?
No.
Where are all the minutes kept?
I'm sorry?
The minutes,
The meeting minutes?
yeah, where are they kept? Are they in a secure place? Can anybody get to it?
The offices are normally locked. One of the doors, for the most part, was unlocked.
Wh-
There's two doors to that particular room.
Were there specific documents we're talking about?
I believe he is referring to a site plan.
Would there be any advantage to you to do that?
No,
You're not a party to any of this?
I am not.
Excuse me, I'll just add also, I believe there were numerous public rated requests that were filled that Mr. Andrews received, so he would have had access to these documents.
Anyone else?
And Ms. Snell, you were the secretary for the zoning board of appeals. Do you have any statement to make about this?
I really don't. I'm just here if there's any questions for me.
Do you have anything else at this point?
No, I just wanted to bring this forward to just basically prove my innocence.
Mr. Andrews?
Should we go to the other side of the table, or how did you want to?
Either way, I'm not, it's up to the board.
Okay, go for it.
So I filed the public records request back in either February or March. I was told that the public records were available. I came in, I had asked to see, to take pictures of a plan set dated April 10th that they said they were received May 8th by the planning board. When I came in, the only plans that were available were the plans that were stamped September 14th. Those were the approved plans. I pointed out that those aren't the plans that I was looking for. I was looking for a copy of the site plan that came in originally in May. That was in the meeting minutes saying it was in May. I was told that these were the only records that there weren't any other records. I said, no, there are other records because it's stated so in the minutes. And I was told when new site plans come in, old ones get destroyed. And I said, you can't do that because they're a public record, they've been displayed in a public meeting. You can't get rid of site plans that were presented in a public meeting. So we went back and forth and had a discussion over whether or not you could destroy the records or not.
Mr. Andrews,
With-
we're referring to you, you're
Miss-
talking
yes.
about Ms. Ronaldo.
So we had a discussion over that. Then you went to the drawer, you grabbed out the meeting minutes, and you said, I don't know why the fuck you need these anyways.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Terry, this is,
That-
sorry.
That's what was said to me. It was done in front of Ms. Snow, it was done in front of Kathy Clark. And I said, I'm treating you with respect, I'd like to be treated with respect too. You went, you looked, and you said, yes, I'm mistaken, there were other site plans. I don't have these. I'll have to contact Webby Engineering and get a copy, of which you did that day. You contacted Webby, and you had a pair of site plans that were available for me to look at the next day. So the records aren't available. So whether you took, this board takes the word lost to mean misplaced, or lost to mean physically destroyed, they're not available. The record that's stamped by the planning board is not available.
How many copies of plans are typically submitted,
9
and who would get those plans?
different departments within the town.
Once the plans are signed, where are they distributed to?
Well, the only plans that normally would get signed is the approved plans. Anything else,
That would be the Mylar?
if the Mylar is available to be signed, if it's required.
So more than one copy of the plan would get signed?
We try and sign at least 2, one for the town clerk, for permanent record.
So they would always be available at the town clerk's office?
Yes.
These plans weren't stamped by, the plans that were, I was given a copy to were not stamped by the planning board.
But you accused Ms. Renaud of specifically destroying the plans, right?
That were sent, that the planning board had a copy of, yes.
And you knew that how?
Because she told me she gets rid of plans when new plans come in.
Can I just state that I don't recall saying that I typically get rid of old plans when new plans come in.
Is there an expiration date on plans? Does anybody know?
Um,
Plans submitted?
Not when it's part of a public meeting. The minutes, when the, say like the fire department gets a copy of the plans, they have a retention record that they, I believe, is either 3 or 4 years that they can get rid of plans. But when a document is used in a public meeting, it's part of the public record and can't be destroyed. It can't be gotten rid of.
Is the document we're talking about a site plan?
Yeah,
What's the retention timeframe on a site plan?
there is no retention time frame on a plan that's presented in a public meeting. There is none. It needs to be part of the record, and that's why the meeting minutes have to list out all the documents that were presented in the meeting. I went to the town clerk's office afterwards, telling her what happened.
Do
So,
you have a copy of the plan?
yep, she did.
You can ask questions.
I was wondering why did you need a copy of the plans?
I was requesting a copy of the plans because of the public records request I had for it.
But you did have access to the plans,
I
right?
did not have access to the plans.
The plans were provided.
The copy of the plans was provided 2 weeks after the request, the second time. So the plans when I came in that were available were the September plans. The plans that came in the next day had the date from Webby Engineering saying April 10th. They weren't stamped by anyone. So I asked for a copy of stamped plans, which I received 2 weeks later.
But the town clerk had a copy of them.
Town clerk did have a copy of them, but when I was going through and looking at the plans that were signed, they had Post-it notes on it that were attached to the plans. So any notes, anything that was attached to those plans is gone.
So you had seen these plans prior?
I can't say that
Well, you
I,
just said they had Post-it notes on them.
the September 14th plans had them.
And those weren't the plans you were looking for?
Correct.
I guess my question is, to what end did you request plans for the paperwork? What motivated you to ask for these plans?
So I think if I have to answer that, I gotta recuse myself and go to the... So, I'll recuse myself. I asked for a copy of the plans because of the lawsuit I have against the town, which prove that the original plans that came in, that Charlie's memo discusses, shows everything on one lot. Shows everything on one lot. So that's why I needed a copy of the plans.
But in essence, they were available, just not available through the planning board because they couldn't be found. Is that effectively it?
The plans weren't available in the planning board, yep.
Okay. So your comment about they were destroyed was in what context?
The planning board's copy of the plans was destroyed.
By the secretary. Was the inference malicious?
Was it malicious? I don't think so. I think it was declaring a fact. She told me that she gets rid of plans when new ones come in. We had a discussion over whether or not, I told her, you can't get rid of the plans. It's a violation of public records.
Is that,
And she went over to the desk and she grabbed out the meeting minutes.
I don't recall having a discussion about the open meeting law and destroying records or getting rid of anything if something new came in. I
was
didn't
anybody
recall
else
that
witness to
whatsoever.
any of that conversation?
Kathy Clark and Elena Snow with her.
Is she available tonight to testify?
I couldn't get a
I
hold
did
of her.
not contact.
Selectman Roy was informed of what happened about an hour afterwards.
I'm sorry, you said Kathy Clark? Who's Kathy?
She was the previous secretary.
For conservation.
Conservation.
Oh,
Is there?
oh, okay, I just didn't recognize the name. I know who that is. I just knew it was Kathy. Kathy Clark didn't ring a bell.
Well, I guess my question is, did she specifically say that she destroyed the plans that you were looking for?
She said she got rid of them.
I don't recall saying that.
Well, this could go on all night.
Again, I just wanted this to be brought to your attention and basically to prove my innocence that I did not destroy any records.
I would just like to point out that the copy of the plans for the planning board has not been found to my knowledge.
Has anybody searched for him subsequently? Is there?
Yes, I have.
Well, what's the expectation? You came to prove that you
I
didn't do
basically
it.
wanted to state my case. Something was said against me, and I just wanted it to be brought forward and prove my innocence that I did not do this.
I don't know if Mr. Andrews has anybody that he wants to speak on his behalf.
I couldn't get someone to come tonight.
Well, I don't know that we can even settle this.
There's no right decision to be made on this. We got two conflicting stories. I guess the bottom line is that even though you couldn't find it where you were looking for, you did find a copy that was necessary for your to go forward with whatever you were doing.
Were these folders because of the litigation involved? Had they been gone through
Several times.
by various individuals? So literally anybody could have misplaced them, misfiled them, taken them?
During the day, the meeting room is open. The files are open.
But when I first came in, I was told that there weren't any other plans. And those are the only plans that were available. And I had approved in the meeting minutes there were other plans.
Well, I can see if somebody was looking for something and didn't find it, I can understand the comment, there were no other plans, but whether there actually were other plans or not isn't necessarily tied together.
I just, the reason why I believe that the plans have been destroyed is because she said she gets rid of site plans when new ones come in. So that's my perspective, that they're no longer available for the public to view. There's no stamped plans from the planning board I don't know if there's notations on the plans.
Well, didn't we establish that the town clerk had a copy of the plans?
Right, but
signed?
what I'm saying is that those plans are not available. When I reviewed the site plans that were the later version, they had Post-it notes attached to them, there were comments attached to them. So all I'm saying is, if there were other comments that were made on the original
It
plans,
wouldn't be available on
Not
that
available.
copy.
Yeah. Well, it's a difficult situation. We have 2 town employees, represent the town, and to my knowledge, have done good work in the process, the both of you. And I wish there was some other way of doing it, because my feelings right now is to take no action on it, because there's no right or wrong in this particular situation, at least from my standpoint.
I don't think we can come to any conclusion here, and I don't see an action being taken,
Well, I think what has been done is,
other than airing it out.
that was my next statement. Anybody else have any statements to make?
may I just request that we possibly look at the procedure when somebody comes in under public records to say, this is what, well, you can't say what the reason is you're looking for, but if somebody takes out a folder, they can write down what folder they took out,
Well,
so that folder can be checked afterwards to make sure everything that was in the folder is available.
Well, that's assuming that you know exactly what was in the folder. I mean, some of these folders are
But they
pretty...
should, I get that, but going forward, can we make sure that we know what's in the folders? We have a document, every new folder that comes in, we should have a document stating what's in the folder.
so in other words, you want, anyone looking at a document has to sign it out.
If they're gonna take out a folder, they should sign out whatever folder that they've taken out, so that at least we have a record of who's looking at what folder, what night the folders were looked at, if they come out at a meeting or
I'm not
something.
sure if that's part of the... Is that allowed?
We can, yeah, because if you had, it's going to be very cumbersome, because, for instance, if you're in the building office, you would have to then, every single time somebody comes in and wants to look at a folder, you'll go through that process. I'm not saying it's impossible, I'm saying it's cumbersome.
Yeah.
But if someone's making a document request, then they can make it verbally. I want to look at the file for 100 Main Street. Okay, I'm going to go back, I'm going to first examine 100 Main Street folder. I'm going to, maybe there's, one hopes, if you wanted to do this process, let's say there's a sheet over on the left-hand side, lists 10 documents for 100 Main Street. You then, the person who's the town employee, then has to verify, are all those 10 documents actually there? Okay, fine. Then you have a record that Jane or Joe is looking at 100 Main Street folder. After that's done, the employee needs to go back through the folder, make sure all 10 documents are there, probably initial something saying that on this date, so-and-so looked at this folder, and I verified that nothing was taken that was already there. But we would do that with any folder in any department.
That would be cumbersome. That's certainly something I looked at.
Or we can start the scan and go with electronic files, so that people
Yeah.
have access. I would suggest one of the things to change going forward is looking at, when we look at the bylaws, to look where there's copies of plans or documents that need to be filed, that we request an electronic copy be available to.
Or, yeah, PDF copy.
Yeah.
But I think we do that now.
I don't think officially,
Not on
no.
site.
Officially, you don't.
Well, many times we got electronic copies, but there's nothing in the bylaws specifying that we get them.
Oh, no, I didn't necessarily mean in the bylaws, I just meant under requests.
In-
And most places would rather send you an electronic copy than a paper copy.
Inasmuch as you, Teresa, that you brought this forward, are you satisfied with the
Yeah.
fact you had your opportunity to
Yes.
speak your mind? Okay,
All right, I move we take no action.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Losing my voice.
we can go into the routine business, I think we have a 7:45 PM, right? Is our first other appointment, or 7:30? Yes, Mr. McGinley from interviewing for the Finance Committee. So the
Before
board,
we go through our usual stuff, is that the minutes from the regular session, October 21st, regular session, October 22nd, October 30th, November 1st, November 12th, and 2 executive sessions, 1 October 22nd and 1 October 30th. I'll move those as printed.
Second.
Any discussion?
Can I vote on the 2 executives?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Oh, aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sonia, Gordon,
Sorry.
that's okay.
I move to affirm approval of the following warrants and commitment. Withholding warrant number 44 for $139,165.87. Vendor warrant number 45 for $635,515.62. Ambulance commitment from November 4th, 2019 to November 10th, 2019 for $39,720.75.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I can't do the next ones.
Okay, yep.
I move to affirm approval of the following bills. Brooks and Durensis for $3,527.60. KP Law PC for $3,501.50.
I'll second those. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, one
I abstain.
abstention.
I move to approve the following warrants. Payroll warrant number 46 for $400,498.14. Vendor warrant number 47 for $99,222.63. Withholding warrant number 48 for $146,484.02.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approval of the following bill. KP Law PC for $645.90.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, one abstention.
Abstain.
Charlie, I think it's on you.
Okay. Council on Aging Director, I just got the envelope, in essence, from Barbara Gaynor, who's a member of the Screen Committee. The Screen Committee's just an update on the Council on Aging. So deadline for applications was back on 15th. We had about 20 applications, including ones from those who were applied during the first recruitment round. All these were reviewed by the Screen Committee last week. Then the Screen Committee interviewed a total of 5 candidates. There were 4 interviewed yesterday, 1 today. I do personally think that the field's a bit more solid than the first time in many respects. I just got handed by Barbara Gaynor the 3 names of the candidates that we would recommend that the Board of Selectmen interview for next week on Tuesday, December 3rd. We have Susan Lawless, Marie Vitale, and Judith Passiobo. Would the board want to do this, let's say it's 7, 7:45, and 8:30, does that work?
Which date again?
That would be December the 3rd on Tuesday. The board had talked about, it's going to be obviously a weird week, but it's an off week for the board, but we have both this, and then on Wednesday, the 4th, we have the scheduled public forum for Bud's Goods.
You want to start earlier, board members? You want to start at 7 o'clock and go from there?
Well, that's why we're supposed 7:45 and 8:30, but we could start earlier than 7 if the board
That's
wanted.
fine with me. Earlier the better.
6?
I'm good with that. I don't know if it works for you.
6 o'clock's good.
So 6, 6:45, and 7:30 for the
Yeah, let's
appointments,
get
does that work?
Get it done.
Great. I'll have the staff make the phone calls tomorrow morning, get everything set up. So we had this interviews for the Screen Committee this week, then the 3rd, the Board of Selectmen's holding this final round of interviews. Then unless the board makes a decision on the 3rd, I would expect that the board's gonna make a decision on the 10th at the regular meeting in a couple of weeks. I have, the Screen Committee and myself have discussed the salary with all the candidates, so they're aware that if they want to, they can make the request that they started a step other than step one. They know that it's going to have to go to the Wage and Personnel Board, though, as I told them, it's really, one person from the Board of Selectmen, one person from the Finance Committee. But the board itself, in essence, is going to make its case to the member of the Finance Committee to say, yes, this person should stop based on their experience, training, et cetera, that they should start at a step other than step one.
All the candidates interviewed at Pope's Tavern?
Yes.
So they're all aware of the facility? Okay, just wanted to double check on
I
that.
don't know how, I mean, some of them may have gotten a little bit of a feel of the place when they're, they were there before the interview started, and
Yeah.
I don't know how many of them, for instance, went upstairs or something like
Okay.
that, but
I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that,
They've
they've been in the building.
Yeah.
I don't know if they went to the basement at all, but they've been in the building.
Okay.
On Amanda's Estates, Party Trust sent the planning board a revised site plan. The planning board had met on Thursday, November 21st. Attorney Questle could not attend, and the planning board continued the hearing to Monday, December 2nd. Attorney Questle did answer some of the questions that the planning board had posed back at their meeting 2 weeks prior on the 7th. Unfortunately, between the time when Attorney Questle provided the planning board with available dates, including the December 2nd date, and when the planning board continued the hearing to that date, another town got that date reserved, so the planning, and I know the planning board secretary is working with the planning board members to see if there are any other possible dates to meet, but the meeting on the 2nd still going to occur.
Has anyone been picked to fill the slot on the planning board?
No, that's a function of the board, and the planning board right now, because there was a conflict in schedules for one of the candidates, all the interviews and such have been moved to January 14th from December 10th.
Okay.
So in anybody from the board's interest, there's a copy of the revised site plan here in the mail. Finance Committee, we're going to be meeting with Mr. Glinley later today at 7:30. Just so the board's aware, the Highway Cemetery Bargaining Unit requested negotiations for the wages only for fiscal 2021, but that won't happen until March. To this. Stop signs. I think that State Highway, the highway surveyor dropped off. So what had happened is Melissa Sheridan, who lives at 66 Fuller Street, had requested stop signs in some way at the intersection. It's not quite a four-way intersection, as you can see on the map. Both Fuller's, I think it's Cedar Street and Wood Street do intersect at Fuller Street, but at different points. It's only, I don't know, maybe a few hundred feet. So it's not quite a four-way. So, but she's noted that there have been accidents at this intersection. I did send it out to the Traffic Safety Committee. The only person I had heard from other than Steve Hayward was from the fire chief. He felt actually the sign should be on Fuller Street in the sense of stopping traffic going north-south. I think I concur with Steve in that because Fuller Street's the one with the straight shot,
Right.
the more natural place to put the stop signs or yield signs would be at the corners with Cedar Street and Wood Street.
I think you just should put stop signs.
Yeah,
anyway.
I'm in total agreement. I had that conversation with Steve. I think the yield sign, the stop's effectively going to become a yield anyway because there's not a whole lot of traffic down there. But at least it gives somebody the idea that they should be stopping. It's kind of a weird intersection. It's literally too wide.
Right, because
it
it's
encourages
it's sort
bad
of like
behavior.
with Circuit Street, where it crosses
Right.
the main Plymouth Street, it comes at one point and then leaves at another point a little bit farther down the road. Something similar to this.
It encourages bad behavior.
Spinning tires on pavement?
Yeah, that would be it. I again, to echo what Mr. Guerin said, I'd be in favor of stop signs.
Gord?
I think Tom's right that it's effectively going to be a sign.
Yes.
So.
So if the board wanted to make a motion concerning this, because I need an official motion so it's entered into the traffic regulations for the town.
I'll move that we have highway or authorize highway to install stop signs at the indicated intersection.
And this is to put a stop on traffic at Wood Street and Cedar, not for Fuller Street.
Correct.
So we're talking
So would
3 stop
Two.
signs or 2?
Two.
2, okay.
stop sign
One,
maybe?
so one eastbound on Wood Street entering Fuller and one westbound on Cedar Street entering Fuller.
Okay, those spots, okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The legislation on Burt Gaynor is moving along slowly as everything happens up at the State House, unless it's the last day of the session. There was a hearing by the Joint Committee on Public Service on the 18th or 19th. I'm getting conflicting reports, but there was a hearing out from Senator Brady's office that it was being pulled with the intent of reporting it out of committee with a favorable recommendation. If so, it's going to be sent to the Senate Ways and Means. So he's keeping me up to date as to what's happening there.
Charles, it has to go to both sides, right?
Yes, both the House and the Senate.
Any update from Kathy
I think
Sinatra's
it was a joint meeting. So
Oh,
some of the committees are joint committees, so you're right. But I think it's being, at least in this first step, it was being heard by members from both the House and the Senate.
Okay.
The police chief and Cesar Claro, who's our IT specialist, notified me about this video surveillance registration program. And what this is a completely voluntary program that allows property owners to provide information to the police department about locations, et cetera, that they have cameras. So that then if there's an incident in sort of the vicinity of the camera might have seen something, again, voluntarily, the police department can go to that person, say, we look at the footage from such and such a day or an hour or whatever, and the person doesn't have to give it up. There's nothing required of anybody. If you have a camera, you're not required to register. If you register, you're not required to provide footage. It simply gives a registry to the police department that they may have other sources of information. There's no action for the board to take, but I wanted the board to be aware of it in case you all were asked about it.
Okay.
Yes.
We did get a request from WGBH, a long string of questions about our marijuana situation here in Halifax. Not anybody in particular, but this was prior as a result of the federal investigation on the host community agreements, because there have been some problems in other communities with them. And so probably GBH had sent out an email blast to a number of municipalities, including Halifax. We only have the one host community agreement that we did with $4, which is basically defunct anyway. And I provide the other information that they want.
What's the state doing about this? They have the state board made a decision on what they want to do about the agreements?
Well, they had issued an advisory back 2 summers ago, back in 18, that re-emphasized the idea that for the community impact fee, that 3%, the amount that we can levy of up to 3%, not the sales tax, but a community impact fee, it should have some reasonable relationship with the amount of money that the town has to spend because of these facilities. So for instance, if you have to do public works improvements, that's a part of the cost. If you're going to have to do police details on a regular basis, that's part of the cost. They've not sent out, you cannot say, they haven't sent out, for instance, a directive that says specifically, you can't write into the agreement that every year that the Acme Marijuana Company is going to give the Main Street Fireworks Association $10,000 a year. And there are plenty of agreements that have something like that. Ours does not, but they haven't issued a specific directive. I think they may be, in fact, waiting to see what the federal government does also. Not so much, marijuana, anti-marijuana, but just in terms of whether the agreements are being coerced from the marijuana facility owners.
Now, we're having a public hearing next Wednesday on this?
Correct. That's the one for Bud's Goods, which is the proposed outdoor cultivation facility off of River Street. So we have a proposed host community agreement with them. That's been reviewed by council, but at this point, both is informally, because the board has done this before when we had the 4 daughters a couple of years ago, but also as part of the state licensing requirement, there needs to be some sort of public forum to gather comment on the host community agreement and on the project itself. So that serves a dual role, both fulfilling the legal obligations that Bud's Goods has and also the board's informal interest in getting public comment. And at this point, the board hasn't signed anything with Bud's Goods. And if at some point the board wants to, it can, but the board, we're following the same pattern that we did with $4, which was, okay, we've got a working host community agreement. We have it up on the website, for instance. We'll have a public forum, and Bud's Goods can do a presentation, and people will be there to provide comments, ask questions, whatever.
What time?
It'll be 7 o'clock upstairs in the Great Hall.
All right, thank you.
On Ponset Pond, Brockton, and the monitoring study, back 2 winters ago, I think, the city got a administrative consent order, a new one from Department of Environmental Protection. And as part of that, they have to do a management study for Mount Ponset Pond and associated water bodies. One of the things that came out of that was that probably they were going to need to, in essence, run some trials of what flows looked like downstream and such, and water levels in Mount Ponset Pond, depending on how much water they were diverting to Silver Lake from Mount Ponset Pond. They got a waiver from the other consent orders that wouldn't allow them to do something like that in order to do this work. When the board saw that a couple of weeks ago, they asked the DEP have them on the list of being informed about when those diversions were going to happen. DEP, within 24 hours, said, yes, you're going to be informed, along with Hanson. And in fact, during this 2-week period, we got informed, and the diversions, I believe, are beginning this week. They're doing it very slow, so they're going to do a 25% of max diversion. So from the records I remember, the maximum amount that could be diverted from Mount Ponset to Silver Lake, just based on the size of the pipe, is about 25 million gallons per day. So they'll do a quarter of that rate this week. They'll do 50% of that next week. They're planning on also doing a 75% and 100% some point in December. That's all going to be authorized by DEP. Part of this is going to depend on water levels on Ponset Pond and whether we have rain coming in or not.
Now, will that will take water from west and pull it into east?
And then east will be pulled into Silver Lake.
So like,
Because I don't think there's no information indicating they're putting a barrier up between the two ponds, or the two lobes of the ponds.
yeah, that had been discussed.
That was one of the possibilities in terms of doing trials. Maybe they might try that at some other date, again, doing a diversion, but this time with a barrier between the two lobes. But I don't see any information that indicates they're putting a barrier up between, and no one's called me, for instance. And usually something like that, we don't get, either they call the selectman's office or they post something on Facebook saying what's going on, and I've had nothing.
Okay.
Thanks, Jeremy.
You're welcome. I did send a letter to Mayor-elect.
I'm sorry.
Are you, when you're finished, if I could add a comment?
Go right ahead.
I just wanted to say that it's good that they're starting this testing. Charlie's staying on top of that. That's great. What I really want to bring up is our concern about the last phase of testing, which is scheduled for summer of 2020, in which there would be no diversion to Silver Lake because there is no diversion at that time. And they propose no flow at Stump Brook Dam. So if there's no diversion, so water's not flowing east.
Becomes stagnant.
And the dam is closed, water is not flowing west, we have a bathtub. So I think it's something to talk to them about now.
Well,
Because their schedule is not rigid because they started late. So they need to reevaluate how they're going to do that particular testing, or even if it's necessary. Because it's not a scenario that will happen.
we did send a letter, right, Charlie, to the new mayor, Robert Sullivan.
Well, in fact, I was going to mention that. I haven't heard anything back, but I'm sure he's a bit busy.
So on that test, what is that supposed to do? Increase the water levels in both?
Various scenarios of, they're testing flow scenarios as part of the ACO RMP combination.
But is that a flow between east to west? Because
East to west is the natural flow.
Right, this is going to be west to
This
east,
is
right?
going to be west to east.
Well, the one we're doing right now, but I think the one you're mentioning, if they're not doing any diversion during the summer,
Right.
during this period, but also blocking the dam in essence, what happens to the ponds?
they
What
just
hap-
fill up, right?
Well, they could. Well, of course, during the summer, they could even decrease.
Causes the weeds to multiply much faster because the seeds and stuff aren't being washed out, and then those type of plants will multiply. Plus, your sediment and stuff that's falling on the bottom of the lake, if there's no flow, it just builds up.
Well, plus there's the algae issue too, and it's
Right.
just going to make that worse.
So if we paid for, if the town has funded, made the algae treatment happen, in the spring.
Right.
It seems not the greatest idea to do that testing in the summer.
Good point.
Let me see what I can do with DEP. See what they're gonna say. I'll contact DEP in the city and see what their current plans are and how that's gonna interact with the work we're gonna do, I hope, late in the spring.
Is there, you have a copy of the material that you're
I'm
reading?
sorry?
You have a copy of your statement there?
A copy of what?
He doesn't know whether you have a statement or something that you wanna give the board.
Oh, no, I don't have an official statement, unofficial, I'm sorry. But I can send one in
Sure.
tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a couple of things. During the last couple of months, the board had authorized me to send, in essence, the non-criminal disposition tickets to Mr. Harrison, who has a junk vehicle there next to the farmhouse. That got sent out last week by certified mail. That has no response as of yet. And also Mr. John Peck on soil removal over on Thompson Street. I sent that out the same day, again, by certified mail. There's no response. So I don't know whether they're going to try and appeal. I don't know whether they're going to pay the fines. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, my understanding is Mr. Peck's been in the hospital. I don't know whether or not he's home now or what's going on with that. So I imagine that they've got some other things on their mind, but at least they could at least respond yes, no. What the hell?
I actually wasn't expecting them to respond. Usually when we do something like this, nothing tends to happen. Cybersecurity grant, the training, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, in fact, I think, Troy, did I put something on?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
You
I
got passed
signed it
out.
out.
So that's the grant paperwork for the train. So just to review, what's going to happen as part of that train, employees using the town's computers are going to be trained about cybersecurity. There'll be random testing, so they will get bogus emails, for instance. And we'll try and encourage them to do something with that.
I think that's a great.
Right, and if, they'll have training before that, we'll have the random testing. If it doesn't work out well, then they'll get some more training and so forth.
So there's no fail on? or
No,
pass?
it's more, well, there's always a pass, it's more, if you need more help,
Oh, yeah.
learning how to differentiate between
You don't
real emails and bogus ones.
You don't get pulled away from your computer if you fail the first time.
It doesn't shock
It
me.
gets shut off.
Sorry.
Do they need to authorize Troy to sign this? Troy to sign?
Sure, please do that.
I move Mr. Garrett sign for the town.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
On the executive session minutes, I provided the board with a spreadsheet showing the executive minutes that have not been previously released. I've noticed on which matters mentioned in them that have been settled, which haven't been. If the settled ones include union negotiations, I'm waiting about 3 years or one contract cycle to have the board approve the release to avoid unions obtaining information about the board's opinions on various issues brought up during negotiations. After a certain point, obviously, the board members change and attitudes change, so I arbitrarily picked 3 years or one contract cycle. But otherwise, I'm recommending the board release those minutes or sections of the minutes for which I recommended release. I'm asking,
Any questions? Gordon?
he's looking.
Tom?
I looked.
Yeah, I read it. I was in here early.
Can you just say that part about the union negotiations?
So what I do is, while obviously we've signed union contracts in the interval, what I do is I wait 3 years before asking the board to actually release those minutes, because
Because the contract's still valid?
in essence, if I was a union, I'd be going back and looking and saying, okay, what were they willing to do that they actually didn't end up agreeing, because we agreed for something less, for instance. So I don't want to necessarily clue them in. But at some point, that information becomes, not helpful at all for anybody, simply because, as an example, Kim was on the board, now you're on the board. Well, Kim's opinions on those things don't matter as much as yours.
Right.
So at some point, we can release those minutes. I don't think I've had anybody actually ask for the union negotiations while I've been here, but nevertheless, as part of the open meeting law, we have to regularly review executive session minutes and release them.
I'll move that if you need a motion.
Is there a second?
Can I second I can still
Yeah.
second part of
Yeah, we
that.
still can authorize.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's see, liquor no, police station, telephone, electricity poles. I had someone contact me that they were really leaning.
Yeah, that's actually
Yeah.
come up
Yeah,
before.
down the street.
So I contacted my friends over at National Grid, so now it's on their work order list. I don't have a date as to when they'll do anything, but at least they've been notified and they put it on their to-do
Because
list.
the transformer that's out in front of the police station is the
Yeah.
one we had the issues with 911 system before.
So, we got that done. Let's see, so,
I don't
look,
know, my favorite thing
yes,
is.
liquor license inspections. So I think, Pam, did you give them each a copy of the
I
blank?
did, yeah.
We did? Where did you give it?
At the pink folder.
Come on.
So it looks like this.
Looks like so. I'll give you mine. What do you do now?
Do you want me to give them?
I don't see one. Oh, behind the blue. You said,
the blue,
you said
I
pink.
Pink, yeah. I heard pink too.
That was me.
Oh, I found it now.
We're in the pink.
Oh, if you want to give that.
I'm in the blue now.
Okay. So traditionally, there's, I think, what's it, 9 licenses, so the board usually just divvies them up, 3 each. 10? Okay, well, somebody's gonna get 4 then.
Well, I've been doing Grill 58 and the pub.
Oh, you get free lunches or something?
And because I do the pub, I also fit in Harmony 2, because it's right there. And the T-Box. So if that's 4, I'll take those 4 if nobody else has an objection.
Tommy doing Grill 58. T-box.
So you're taking the grill, 58?
Yeah,
Tavern.
yeah, because they're effectively the same ownership, so.
May I ask what we do for this?
And Lionsville Tavern and Restaurant?
Flip yours up, okay? Go.
All right, thanks.
You sample the wares and
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then we should all 3 of us go.
Well, that's why I took 4.
Because
Also,
Troy will be the designated driver.
All right. Gordon, what do you want to take on
Yes.
that? I'll take what's left.
they'll make certain the soda isn't flat.
Pick your poison.
I can do BR's, the Country Club, Halifax Mobile, and the Dragon if you want.
Okay, Gordon, you're gonna do Country Club. Country Club probably, you're gonna have to hold off on them, but we'll put you down. So we can say BR's Country Club.
And did you say a Happy Dragon?
Yep, I can do that. Do you want me to do mobile too?
No, I can do mobile.
Okay, to Troy. Mobile.
So that leaves Harmony 2, Liquors, Lindy's.
Oh, I'm doing Harmony
No.
2.
Are you doing Harmony?
We have Lindy's left and Twin Lakes, but again, Twin Lakes is not really open, they're still doing all that work. Same with the Country Club, I mean, he's not doing anything right now, so.
The restaurant's not open right now.
Right, but you know what, I thought that he had a tent outside, like for some of the golfers that were coming out, or so he was still serving, so you better go
Call
ahead,
him.
go take a look at that.
So there's only 8 we're actually doing, huh?
Yeah.
So you said the Monpont one's not open yet either?
Well,
Well-
they're there for, I don't know if they're open for events and functions, so they still have a liquor license for that.
No, I mean,
He's talking
It's,
about Twin
the
Lakes Liquor.
one that Rob's working on with.
Yeah,
them.
Twin Lakes, okay.
Twin
Yeah,
Lakes.
is that open?
Not yet.
Now,
Any idea on
I'm
timeframe?
still working with them, I'm still looking for some information from them.
So, a while?
So, but it depends on how quickly they can get their end together.
So not before December 10th? Not before December 10th?
I wouldn't imagine.
So we'll do it before
So
you.
wave it as you go by.
Okay. Well, I can take that one too, then, if you want.
So who's doing Lindy's? Troy? Okay, and then we've got, we'll put down, who's?
I'll do it.
Do Twin Lakes?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Even those.
And so they're all, everybody does those before December 10th when we go through the license renewal list for every year.
Okay.
Cremation fees. Steve had brought this. These are not the cost of cremation. We do not have a crematorium here in Halifax. These are the fees, the equivalent of the burial plots, so that what he will have is a wall over there at the cemetery. In essence, you'll have slots in the wall that people can put the ashes and such there, and there'll be plaques over each of the slots and such. So this is this is an entirely new fee list. This is not a revised fee list from something else. He provided information on the fees for other communities, just as a comparison. And so the board, as cemetery commissioners, would be the ones making the decision about the fees.
Can I ask a question on just fees for cemetery? How often are those reviewed?
Anytime Steve or his predecessors would come in, but I'd say it's not every year that we've had somebody come in, it's more like every 3, every 5 years.
Okay.
Well, this could extend the life of the, poor choice of words. Could extend
Viability of the cemetery.
Yeah, that sounds better.
The utilization of every
Yeah,
space.
usually taking up less space. Yeah.
So you needed to vote on
Well,
this?
Steve was in here at 8:30.
Was he gonna come in at 8:30?
Yeah,
Okay, then
yeah.
we'll skip
Okay,
until
well,
then, fine.
I wanna
At
ask
least the
him if
board's
you-
aware of it.
Can you go and take loved ones home for holidays?
Well, I think it's your job to keep a part of that on the mantle above the
I
fireplace.
couldn't help myself, it was hanging there.
This is a carryover from a couple weeks ago, Tom. We had some interest about
Yeah.
getting a vehicle for civilian use. The only town department that wrote back to me were the assessors.
Yeah.
And but you were not here a couple weeks ago, so we just continued the discussion to now.
Yeah, this has been an interest of mine for quite a while, having been on the other end of it. I mean, clearly, if we're talking a vehicle, it's not going to be enough all the time for everybody, so some people are still going to have to use their personal vehicle. But there are specific situations where you don't want to take your own vehicle, and unnecessary wear and tear, because we don't compensate anybody for that.
And we compensate at the
sense of-
mileage rates, but if your vehicle gets damaged, the mileage isn't
We don't
necessarily going to
pay
cover.
Yeah,
We don't pay the
55 cents a
insurance
mile
on
isn't
it.
gonna, even basically cover a tire repair for a puncture. But the fact is, I currently believe we have a vehicle available that's in good shape. The town mechanic has claimed it to be so. It would be an easy addition. It's already in the fleet. It's already got a plate. I think it's a good idea. I think we'll have to come up with a system of signing it out so that there's no conflicts about doing that, but I think that's something that can easily be worked out.
But when you have one vehicle and you got multiple drivers, the wear and tear when it comes fast.
Yeah, I mean, they're not gonna take it
Cruising.
cruising, yeah, I mean, but,
We don't know that, do we?
well, there were, in particular, I recall employees having to do inspections on properties with lengthy driveways and losing a muffler or something, and, they never get compensated for that.
You go down the ruts over
Yeah.
around Crystal Lake, for instance.
Right, exactly, and it isn't like you can park
You can't
necessarily
always look
and
at the
walk
negative end of
at
it.
every place, but I think it's a good idea. I would highly be recommending it.
Gordon?
I wavered on this back and forth while I was on the finance committee, whether or not we should add another vehicle to the fleet. So, I'm still kind of wavering on it.
My contention is it's in the fleet.
But it's just the fact that we'd have to replace that vehicle. Are we always going to be able to replace that vehicle with a hand-me-down?
Yeah, we always, because
Yeah.
there are police vehicles that we
Well,
dispose of every year.
sometimes we don't dispose of hand-me-down vehicles. Sometimes we have no choice but to get rid of
Well, that's true.
It
vehicles
depends
that
on,
get into accidents and
Yeah.
such.
yeah.
When you have to
But
tow
we-
it to the parking spot, you know there's a problem.
If we came to the point where we couldn't do it, we can't do it, but at least at the present time, we can do it.
Well, is that a motion?
I'll move that we utilize an existing vehicle for town use.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. One abstention?
I'll be a no for right now.
Okay.
And then on Comcast and the bill explanation, I did hear back from the government relations person at Comcast, which answered and did not answer the question.
Gee, I'm really surprised.
So
They've
what
only
I'm,
avoided it for 2
so what I'm thinking
years.
of doing is, if the board, rather than, we don't have to wait till 2024 when the license is up. Under the terms of the license, the board can do a performance evaluation every year in April or March. It's within 60 days of the license anniversary, which is in late April. So my recommendation, as far as I remember, all the time I've been here, we've never done one for any of the license holders. So whoever had, before, it was Adelphia was before Comcast, and then there was Heron before Adelphia. But it's right there in the licensing agreement, so what I'm thinking is that the board could do the performance evaluation and bring this up as a formal hearing. So I think
So
this,
we could ask for public participation for people to complain about Comcast?
right.
We might get more people in that room than any other.
Yeah, we might have to rent another hall.
Well, who's gonna be taping it, Comcast?
Thankfully, it's Area 58, they just get the money from Comcast.
Yeah.
Comcast. Yeah. The check comes through us, and so they never get anything from Comcast.
Okay, we've got 7:30 and we have a 7:30
But
appointment.
but just to be
Yeah.
clear, we never actually, did we in fact get the information from Area 58 that we asked for as
Which
well?
is what, the budget?
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, we did get that, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I asked for a copy of the budget, and they provided.
And they also said that they have no way of tracking how many hits there are.
Correct.
But YouTube can be tracked.
Yeah, but I would say that, from what I've seen,
It tells you the number of views
Yeah,
on the site.
which is minimal. I mean,
You know,
Yeah, and it could be the same
Bring
people
back the
hitting it several
TVs, we
times.
gotta use a rat ear to tune it up and change it.
let's put it this way,
And the remote is your kids, you send them across the room.
if any of them get 100 views, that's a lot.
Yeah. My issue, of course, has been that it's kind of clandestine as to what it costs each individual subscriber to have this service provided, and I think that the subscribers should know what they're paying. And, you know, I think it's not right that they try to hide it and disguise it.
Okay, well, I will put it on, for the agenda, let's say in late March,
Okay.
and make sure we get this done, and they'll be invited to come in.
Do you want that in the motion?
If you want to, sure.
Yeah, I'd like to move that we ask
Hold the hearing in late March for the performance
Okay.
evaluation of the licensing agreement.
what he said. Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We have Drew McClenny.
Drew, come on up, please. Give
Come on
our
down.
friend here a little room.
Just a little. I'm not too-
Motley Crew.
Don't worry, they're not here for you, they're here for something else. So if you want to introduce yourself to the board.
My name's Drew. I submitted an application to join the Finance Committee. My dad lives here. He moved here probably around 10 years ago or so. I'm living with him, but I've windsurfed some on the lake, and it just seems like a good opportunity to be involved.
What's your background in financial?
I did 2 internships on Wall Street. My majors were in finance and information systems engineering. I did an I was in it's like a 5-year program, but I did an internship. I did 2 internships on Wall Street and then an internship at IBM, and worked at IBM for like a year and a half or so, and then moved back home pretty soon after that.
Finance Committee obviously recommends this appointment.
Committee recommend.
Gordon? Tom, any questions?
So, Drew, you were on the capital plan committee for a little bit. Were you ever sworn in?
I was never sworn in. I wasn't sworn in.
Okay.
Tom?
No, I happened to be at the Finance Committee meeting and heard some questioning, so I was satisfied.
Drew, you realize if we appoint you, it's a lifetime deal.
Yeah.
You know, there's no term limit. We're taking a page from the federal government. There's no term limits. Okay. Your recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One vote from the select,
one
one
vote
vote from the finance committee, so we got it.
Oh, so mine doesn't count. Okay. I feel bad.
It's 2, not 3.
Okay, so what will happen is you'll get a letter from Pam, just in fact officially indicating that you've been appointed. And also instructions to meet up with Barbara Gaynor, who's the town clerk, to get sworn in.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good luck.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You're all finished?
Yep, you can go.
If you want to stay, you can stay too. Okay.
Everyone says that, does it?
Just on the Dana Roads, the land swap, I've been in touch with Joan Pierce. She's been in touch with her colleagues at DCAM, so they continue to work on drafting the necessary legislation for that. As I said about the Gaynor legislation, everything takes longer up there. On Bow Street, on the acceptance of the parcel, I did talk to Paula Long, who is a representative for the estate. She's not, who owned it, and that parcel, where it was accepted by the town, the town voted to accept it. It turns out, as I said a couple of weeks ago, that there'll be 2 wills to be probated. That would cause Ms. Long an expense that she doesn't want to incur. And so what we did was, in terms of talking with Larry Mayo and in terms of talking with Ms. Long, we figured out, okay, we'll have the assessors who agreed to this take her name off the tax bill along with her address. So what will happen is it'll still say the estate of so-and-so, and it will bounce. Basically, officially we have to send it out, even though there's no address. It will bounce back. In a couple of years, we'll be going through the tax sale process and then be able to take it for land of low value. That ended up, even though we're going to incur a little cost in doing so, that seemed to be the easiest thing to do.
So we can't buy for Wampums?
No, she doesn't own it. The state owns it, and as I said, they'd have to be probated twice, both through her, I think it's her father and then her mother. And she didn't want to go through that. Let's see, I'm going to hold off on the budget because that may take a couple of minutes. Because we have other appointments. The Walmart deliveries, I did talk with the manager at Walmart who said they would try and be more observant of limited delivery times and the approved site plan. This is back in 1994 that the site plan was approved. Walmart may ask for revisions in the site plan at some future time. If that happened, obviously we'd publicize that fact.
So that they did ask for changes to the site plan last meeting for changes to the parking spaces.
Okay, but they didn't
not
ask for
times.
the...
Yeah, that was
that was a whole different matter, yeah. And they, and they did file an official site plan for that, everything. There was nothing about the hours. So, if the board wants, I can publicize the delivery times and ask residents to call the police department if they observe any violations. I did talk to the police chief about that. He said if they did get phone calls, they would send someone down there to confirm. They wouldn't write any tickets,
But at least make it
we would
log.
have, they would be logging that in if the board wants me to do that.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, he raised his hand.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
They all sound the same. If I'm not looking, I can't.
Green communities, the weatherization work at the fire department has been completed. The next step is going to be changing the fixtures at the highway department. So hoping to get that work done this month. So we'll save some money in the long run on that. Planning board vacancy, as I mentioned earlier tonight, the interviews and the possible vote moved from December 10th to January 14th due to the scheduling conflicts with one of the candidates. I also wanted to note that Selectman Robert Deegan, the elder, not the
elder, yeah.
Robert
Yeah, I
Deegan,
knew
who served on
Robert.
the planning board a few years ago, but the elder had passed away on November 14th. He served as a member of the Board of Selectmen in late 1970s and early 80s. He was also a member of a number of other committees. I think the Athletic Association, the earlier Halifax, and he lived 83 years, served the town well. I think our next appointment is at 7:45, so I've got, unfortunately, 8 minutes. If you want to talk about the budget, I can do that now, or if you think it's going to take more than...
We have a budget.
We don't have a budget. That's the challenge, is we're going to have to put together a budget. So you all had met with the Finance Committee last week, along with many of the department heads, about the fiscal 2021 budget, reviewed all the sort of the macro 30,000-foot up view of the budget. It looks like, at that point, we should be able to do a level service budget with most of the departments, in that we're not going to encourage them to submit for increases and such, but we need them to submit what's a level service. So keep the number of people you have, keep the number of hours, the service levels and things like that. Obviously, there might be adjustments. So for instance, if, as an example, if the postal rates go up, which I know they're going up and not for the first class, but if that was happening in the collector's office, because it's sending out the bills, they might need to increase their postage account, things like that. And for the most part, for the last few years, we've asked, in fact, departments to file a level service budget. The board and the finance committee also indicated that if there were departments that wanted to submit alternate budgets beyond the level service, that they should do so, in the sense of if they felt there were needs that weren't being met and that they were in need additional expense money for something, or that increased number of people or number of hours for their departments, that they should submit that with an explanation. There's no guarantee, obviously, that we're going to have the money for that, but at least that may, we start or continue the conversation about what the town's needs are. All that said, and Gordon's been obviously as a member of the school committee for both of them, but especially Silver Lake, indicated, I think it was in fact last week or in our conversations, that the salary budget for Silver Lake may be going up, was it 700,000, let's say?
Yeah.
Which at our rate, assuming no state aid or assuming sort of there are no other funds coming in, would represent something like $200,000 for Halifax.
Yes.
The thing is, our assessment is roughly, let's call it $4.5 million right now, excluding the levy, the bond payment that we're making. So 2%, for instance, is 90,000 as opposed to 200,000. If they, just by salaries alone, forgetting their health insurance is going to go up, there are other things that are going to go up, but just salaries alone, it's going to be that. And I projected, knowing what we've got left after the mandatory things like retirement and our own health insurance, we might have, let's say, conservatively 430,000. That would eat almost half of what's available. That it doesn't get to the elementary school, voc ed, special ed, all the other departments.
And that's if everything is passed at town meeting. All the budget items passed at town meeting.
Well, what we start off with as for last week was to take the figures from last year. And that doesn't include step increases, that doesn't include any cost of living or across the board increases. But to say, if everything stays the same from last May, except for a few things, if we know, if we have information already, like the retirement assessment, like an estimate for health insurance, that we plug those in and then say, how much more money do we have for fiscal 21 than we would for fiscal 20? Assuming that, for instance, we're leaving 300,000 on the table along with the Franklin Street solar field. You have about 430,000 conservatively. It might go up a little bit. For instance, I'm not assuming any increase in state aid as an example. And if we see the numbers, we can make those changes. But right now, conservatively, we've got about 430,000 to play with. If Silver Lake takes 200, that leaves 230 for the elementary school, voc ed, special ed, and all the other town programs. If Silver Lake was only asking for a 2% increase for our own assessment, not the overall three towns, it might be about 90,000 instead of 200, which means a $700,000 increase is far more than a 2% for the three towns. So I don't like telling a department, in essence, we can't afford you. I mean, we're not going to the police department right now. We're not going to the fire department or highway saying we can't afford to fund you at the level that you might expect. But not saying so gets us into a position in March where we're having this argument then. And as I went to the hearing, well, not hearing, but the Silver Lake meeting back in October to say, look, we need a revenue-driven budget. You need to define how much assessment you should expect from those three communities overall, because ours might be making it up. Ours might be 1, let's say Kingston's at 2 and Plimpton's at 3 because the student levels go up and down.
So we're gonna have to cut you off at this point, because we got 7:45.
Continue that.
And I don't want to get on the wrong side of this group.
They outnumber you, for one thing.
It's the women are worried about. Good evening. So we're transferring the license?
Yes. I'd like to.
tell us more, please. I mean, if the board may know everything, they may have gotten a letter from you all, but for our TV audience, could you tell us what's going on?
Well, we wanted to take our name.
Well, who are you?
Oh.
Let me look at my wallet.
Mike and Janet Williams, we own Halifax Glass, but we also had Pete's Auto Sales, which we have not had anything to do with in years. So we wanted out of our name and back and into Bob's name.
And Bob is?
Right, sorry.
Frenchman?
I'm sorry.
So,
You've effectively been running
you
it.
guys won't be coming to town anymore?
Oh, absolutely. We will be here.
Oh, this, well,
I'm gonna meet you in Walmart. I mean, I have to come.
those are my office hours.
He meets everybody.
So, Rob, what's your take on this?
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in.
Rob's been in the business for a long time, and I haven't personally received any complaints about anything, so I don't have any issues with
I
that.
talked to my daughter about him, she doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Well, it's because she doesn't get much hair business.
Exactly.
Well, I don't have any issues with the transfer. I mean, I've known you guys since I moved in town. My first broken window. And you did it on purpose.
I'm supposed to tell him.
Gordon? Tom?
I don't have any further questions.
Thank you.
What's the process? Because I haven't gone through this.
Well, we don't do it very often, we don't do it often, period. So basically, for a Class 2 license, if it was a new one, we would have notified the abutters and everything, because it'd be a new use at the location. But there's no requirement under state law that if we're doing a transfer, that we have to have a public hearing or notify abutters, so we don't do that. And given there have been no problems with the business at all the years they've been operating, and I've been here, there's no reason to have to do anything more than what we're doing.
So I'm looking for a motion.
I would make a motion to approve the transfer.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Thank you.
Wait a minute.
Almost done.
Wait. You got a handcuff?
Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye. You're good.
Let's not push it.
So Pam will handle the paperwork on the license transfer itself and get the signatures from the board if she hasn't already. Then you're going to be renewed just in the next month also.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm just gonna give him the paperwork now, and then he can bring it in. So here it is, right, just need you to, Robin, I know, yeah. And then there's that, and then there's workers' comp, I don't know if they're employees or anything like that, so.
But you just check off the exemption
Okay.
box.
Yeah, a bond, so there's all that. So we're working on all of that. Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll have.
It's really just a continuation of business as usual, right?
Very much.
Yeah,
Very much. So, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
no problem.
43 years later.
Still in the glass business,
They're smart. What am I doing?
We'll let you know after 43 years.
You know, wow, you haven't aged a bit.
Okay. This beard is hiding things. It's there.
All right, thank you
All right,
very
folks,
much.
thank you.
Good luck, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. All right, I'll talk to you. All right.
I'll see you later.
That sounds like a threat.
Thanks, Dan. All right.
That was tough.
Oh, good to see you. Always good to see you.
Take care.
So,
Well, the Eagles are in the house.
did you want to meet with them now since they're here? And you had a series of appointments with them, but there's not a legal hearing or anything. So.
No, we can go now. I mean, Connor's available, for whatever change.
No point in keeping everybody waiting.
Because I know it's a school night,
So, Joe, if you can, both for the board's benefit, but also for our TV audience, if you could, we'll do one project at a time, but if you could introduce yourself, tell us what the project is about, what you've been doing to raise funds, and what you hope to accomplish.
What'd you have for breakfast yesterday?
You guys, I may go first. You are very welcome. So, I'm Connor Burgess.
Too easy.
I'm a Boy Scout in Troop 39. I'm working on my Eagle Scout, and I'm planning on building the pavilion, the 20 by 20 pavilion for the Hops playground over there.
That's ambitious.
Yeah.
So have you started digging yet?
The concrete slab is getting laid out tomorrow.
And you've talked to our building inspector?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay, please do that before anything happens.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. I don't need him coming down consulting with me.
Did we receive anything from Hop saying anything?
Yes, I did talk to Jonathan about that, and every green light from them, absolutely.
Okay. Not sure.
Building inspector is smirking in the background over there, just to mention that.
I'm available whenever you want.
Like now?
Maybe he could show you the plans right now.
Rob, if you could come on.
This is just a layout.
So that-
Those are the footings to the actual.
So the plan is to construct a 20 by 20 pad right on grade.
Okay.
12 inches, it's gonna be an 8-inch foundation wall. He's proposed to do 3/4 stone, and then the whole pad itself is gonna be a 4 to 5 inch pour with, wire and all
He's
that.
gonna have wire in it?
Yeah.
Okay, and you're gonna have, what are we gonna have for tie downs to the structure?
Well,
We're gonna have anything that's...
correct.
We're talking these here?
Yes.
Okay.
So Connie did mention that we're gonna try to do this, but he hasn't received this yet from the awning company. So I would imagine the next 2 to 3 weeks, it will kinda all come together.
Okay.
This will be a Christmas present.
So you'll have something...
Once we purchase
Different than
this,
this, or-
it's along the lines, but it will be.
Okay.
it will be
So I'll have
official.
details provided to me at that point?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to get a jump on pouring the slab, whatever slab or foundation requirements that the awning company is going to require for holdouts and stuff, I would need to see that so we don't have to do things twice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Save you some time.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Perfect.
So this works out well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Probably
Glad
don't
you
go
stuck
far.
around.
Thank you.
I'm available whenever.
Okay.
You might want to sit up front, Mr.
Gordon and
Is there more?
had a...
There's more.
Oh, there's more. Gordon and I had an opportunity to kind of make a presentation to us on what he was going to do. And it's going to be on the back side.
On the right side of the fence.
Well, it's behind you.
Back right.
Correct. It's that way.
Yeah.
Compass.
Put him in the woods, he doesn't get lost, trust me.
And you guys just had a camping trip and you get lost in the woods?
No, I didn't.
Did you lose anyone in the woods?
Well, I'll entertain a motion to allow the project to go forward.
So moved.
Yeah, absolutely. Second.
And thanks for beautifying the town of Halifax. All in favor? Aye. That's gonna be a Taj Mahal over there. I wanna be a kid again.
If I could get this signed.
Oh, no, I'm not signing. The last time I signed, somebody spent 3 years in service.
It's just right here under.
Be seriously making sure it isn't
Where
signing
did you
up
want
for
me to
anything.
sign? Because this says beneficiary approval.
Yep.
Right here?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And Gordon, you moved it and you seconded it?
Correct.
Allow me to sign the paperwork?
So moved.
Yeah, all in favor?
Second. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't want to see that on the back of checks. These are the same.
Thank you.
I look forward to your ceremony.
Next.
And next,
Come on up.
My name is Scott McKee. I'm also a member of Troop 39, and I have these nice little handouts for you all. Just a quick summary of my plans with my project. So, for those of you who don't know, the Harry Brown Nature Trail is directly behind AGS, and it was constructed by one of Troop 39's very own first Eagle Scouts. And it's...
you want to explain what AGS is?
What was that? I'm sorry.
You wanna
What's
explain?
AGS?
So that
Oh,
people
the
know.
elementary school. So, I'm hoping to bring it back to some of its former glory by basically re-clearing the trail and adding benches and a bird watching area at the end for people to go out and enjoy nature.
So you're gonna clear out the wet area too, because it's a marsh area down at the bottom down
So
there.
I'm gonna clear the trails so you can get a good view of the marsh area.
What about the wet areas walking out, Scotty?
So I'm planning on building walkways so people don't have to get their feet wet to get out there. And that should prevent most issues with getting out there.
You, in the pursuit of this project, you're gonna want to talk to conservation because you're gonna be within 100 feet of the wetlands. If in fact you've got a marsh area out there and you do, you know, just at least pass it by them so that nobody's surprised by it.
What do you plan on using for footings if you do put a walkway down there?
Be floating, right?
Yeah, I would imagine it'd be floating. We want it to be able to move.
Right.
You want to explain how you're gonna construct it?
So, don't mind me taking 1 second here. So the plan is to build them out of timbers and pressure treated lumber. So the plan is to have 8-foot walkways or 12-foot in some scenarios where 2 12-foot long planks are constructed over 2 2-inch long timbers, not 2-inch, 2 feet. And that will provide walkways for people to travel on.
How long of an area is wet that you think you need to build these ramps?
So the longest gap that I have down is 16 feet, so I plan to bridge that with 2 8-foot walkways.
Just behind the baseball thing there.
Yeah.
And how wide did you say this was gonna be?
So it should be, each walkway will be about 2 feet wide and between 8 and 10 feet long.
Mr. Scott, when you say bridging a gap, you're talking about, it's gonna be floating on earth. When you say
Correct.
gap,
Yes.
you're just talking about
Yeah.
wet areas.
Yeah.
We're not talking about,
Muddy
we're not
areas.
talking about a gully or any of that.
So what,
Not a bridge.
It's a 6 by 6 inch pressure treated timber cut to 2 feet in length. And then it's, 2 by 8 pressure treated boards butt together. So you have a 16 inch wide footpath, 10 feet long. And you pick them up and just put them in the wet areas, so you can kind of just truck along.
So sort of like a boardwalk.
Boardwalk, that's really what I'm talking about.
So we're not actually doing.
No construction, no footings.
No digging. And we're gonna be clearing vegetation, brush, things along those lines?
Yes.
Yeah, so I suggest you come in and I can help you with the process. If we have to go to conservation, if there's any wetlands involved, we can explain to them that we're not doing any digging, but if we're gonna actually be cutting vegetation, they're gonna wanna know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to do that may involve some digging is putting in bird houses on poles.
Okay, so that would just be a post that's set into the ground.
Yeah.
I think that they may consider that to be minor, but again, not my jurisdiction.
Okay.
And there is a kiosk that you're gonna build, correct, Scott?
Yeah, so at the mouth of the trail right now, it's very hard to actually pick out the trail unless you know what you're looking for. So I wanted to put like a 2 foot by 2 foot kiosk that will mark the trailheads.
Yeah, just to identify, yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's been down there for a while. Now, are you allowing for someone with, say, a baby carriage to go down there? Somebody want to walk?
It might be difficult, but they could try.
I'll come back later.
The mosquitoes don't get them.
I mean, I don't want to leave the kid down there,
Yeah.
No, on a serious note, because I know several people have wanted to go down and walk down there, but because of the wet area, they couldn't walk. with the carriage, going through that to come up on the
You know,
floor.
I think carriage over it would be difficult, even with the boardwalk thing. I mean, it's not,
In
it
this
goes
day and
bumpity,
age-
bumpity, 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 bumpity.
Well,
Yeah, it would have to be really substantial to be wanting to encourage people to do that.
so where would you put the birdhouses?
So I was thinking over the marsh view, you could put them out there so people can look into the marshes and see the birds that are attracted by the birdhouses.
It's cool. Yeah. I'm
So,
good with it.
along with those birdhouses, I wanted to put 2 benches so people can sit down and observe them. And I also wanted to put a bat house in to help reduce the mosquito population.
Makes sense.
So when would you like to start this project?
Hopefully by the end of December.
In the middle of the winter, you're gonna be doing all that?
I think Scotty was thinking about building some of the equipment offline in his garage.
Oh,
So when we
okay.
start the project, we get all the approvals in line, and then he can officially start fundraising, you know, and at that point, you know, he's got some money he needs to earn to raise for this project, so the whole process should start in December.
This is probably the best time of year to actually do it, if the weather cooperates.
Well, we actually talked about that. If it's a nice December,
Yeah.
I would go out there with a group of guys and try to clear
Yeah.
some of it in the
Yeah,
spring.
why you
when
can
we go
see
back.
everything,
Yeah.
number one, and you don't have the mosquitoes to deal
Mosquitoes,
with.
yeah. We did discuss that.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve?
Yeah. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I make a
No,
motion
Thank you for
to,
improving on the town.
make a motion to have Troy sign?
Yeah, second. All in favor? Aye.
And if I say no?
Well, you didn't say yes. no.
I guess you'd still have to sign.
So,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
Thank you.
I make a
Then
motion
we
to allow
come to
Troy to
number
re-sign the
3.
paper.
1 second.
Yep.
I made a mistake. I heard you sign it here, not down here. I know.
We're not starting off on a really good
Second on the re-signing. All those in favor?
Aye. Is there anywhere else
Hey,
on the
where's
paper you want him to sign? This one's the mortgage on the house, Troy.
Next thing I know, I'll get one of the phone calls saying, could I have your serial number for your bank account?
Thank you.
All right, Joe.
The unenviable position of third. Yes.
Now you gotta follow these 2 acts now. What are you gonna do?
Alright, I'm Joseph Boardman. I'm an Eagle Scout candidate from Halifax, Massachusetts, and my plan for a project is to refurbish the Ruth Perkins Reading Garden outside of Holmes Public Library. So what I would like to do is pressure wash and then restain the pergola that like Halifax Eagle Scout AJ Lagabina did in the past. I think that probably 6 or 7 years ago. I would like to mulch and edge the garden area, sand and refinish the wooden benches, then get rid of the concrete that is mounting the aluminum benches under the pergola, and find like a new way to mount the benches into like the patio, I guess.
Because it's cracking.
Yes.
Heating, right?
And then also I'd like to add in a purple martin birdhouse as like a personal touch.
You mean, not just anybody can rent the place, you gotta have purple martins.
What if you have interlopers? Then what do we do?
Those darn sparrows, man, they'll take over.
They take over, yeah.
So when are you gonna start your project?
So I'm planning to start either like late April or early May.
Okay. That makes sense. If you're gonna be staining and doing that kind of work.
Well, how are you gonna dispose of the concrete that's already down there, anything, how you gonna take that
So
out?
the benches that were purchased, I believe, I'm not sure who, someone put
Yeah, I remember
feet on
that.
it. So we're looking at removing that, this isn't, we don't really know yet, it's kind of up to Joe. But maybe do like a small sonotube under grade with an eye bolt, and we can get some of that dog running material, because I've got those tools, and we can just loop the base of them and tag them to the eye bolt and make the eye bolt underground so that no one's tripping on it, but it just makes it, that no one's walking away with the benches.
Right.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
That's, I think that was the original intent, is to,
Rearranging the house?
no, to stop people taking the
The
benches.
benches, yeah. It's a sad state of affairs, but yeah, you're right.
But I
You have
think
to think about it, yeah.
So,
Joe, have you talked to Gene Randall, the director for the library, about this?
Yes. I talked to her about it on Friday, I believe.
Gene, any comments from you or the library?
No, I'm excited. I think it'll be a nice project, so I'm here in support of Joe to answer any questions that you guys, might have. But we have been looking at, I'm looking at, fixing those benches that are actually in the garden.
In the garden, so.
That's important. The benches that are under the concrete, that's important. However, I didn't really know how to fix that, but those definitely have to be fixed. They're putting concrete because they were blowing over all the time.
oh,
So
okay.
That's
that
good
was
to
one
know.
of the main reasons on like really windy days, they kept blowing over, so.
Oh.
He will have to go before the Board of Trustees at some point, just with his plans and just so they can, it's just a formality.
Sure.
I think AJ, when he did the pergola, he went before the board too. And I did email them today. I know it's probably in the spring and but then I have some other ideas too that we can all talk about when we go to the Board of Trustees.
Gene, we just started early because they all were here and we were ready.
Yeah, I know,
so
I was,
sorry. No, I understand.
ran out there, that's fine, that's good.
Well, the mother said we better get started because they want to get the kids to bed.
It's half a day.
I'm not touching that one.
Oh, you don't have to go.
So, motion to approve?
Second? All those in favor? Aye.
Motion to allow Troy to sign the papers?
Second?
Don't feel converted.
All those in favor? Aye. We've established where now, so that should go smoothly.
Now, are you gonna refurbish the plants around the garden out there too, or you just gonna put the benches in?
Hadn't thought about that.
Gonna put benches in.
Because some of the plants are really overgrown.
Yeah, I think we could do something.
Get somebody from the horticulture department at the high school come over.
Maybe you could work with beautification and some of that stuff.
Actually, somebody to reach out to would be the horticulture department at the high school to see if they had anything that they could help you plant in that area, along with the library trustees, because they have their own greenhouse up there. So that would be kind of like a cool way to link them in with your project and show how you're working with some of the,
And they can get credit for community service at the same time.
yeah, because they came down and they helped with hops too.
Right.
Awesome.
So the Friends of the Library just paid quite a bit of money to do like a cleanup because the garden actually was pretty overgrown. It's been in for quite a while. So it is sort of cleaned up, but we're in the process with the Friends of trying to find somebody. We got a couple of estimates that were way too much, somebody to actually do another like spring cleanup. So before you even put the benches in, that will have to be part of the project, kind of like a cleanup. But it won't be as bad as, what happened before.
Sure.
And we're also trying, I think we'll talk about this at the Board of Trustee meetings, looking for somebody, once we get it, all cleaned up, to somebody to maintain it at some point too. Talking with the beautification committee.
Sure.
Gonna approach the scouts. Pat Michaels, I think he's part of the scouts at some point. He's on the Board of Trustees, so.
Okay.
Yep, so we'll be talking with him.
Sure.
Oh, that's a good thing. Well, gentlemen,
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
well, thank you for gracing us with your appearance.
So, well, I'd just like to say I've had the pleasure of watching some of these guys. I think I've even Mr. Burgess, I've watched you grow through soccer games and kids get-togethers. I'm looking forward to working with you guys. Anything you need, please come see me.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
If the board has any ideas of Eagle projects, please reach out to me.
You've got to be running out of them at this
No,
point, right?
I think I have about 10 more.
No, I mean
Oh.
ideas.
No, yeah, well, you know, it's amazing, they kind of, the kids find them.
Yeah, well,
You know,
that's the
But
best.
if there's something that the board would like to see done, please, by all means, reach out to me.
Well, we need a senior center, I don't know.
Yeah. Do you guys have enough equipment to start building?
Just saying.
Got any engineers in the group?
Yeah, I just picked them up from the University of Maine. My oldest.
Yeah, Gene is right, you might want to check with the beautification committee, because they've got a company now that's doing the rotary down there, taking care of that property, and also Peckford Shell's monument outside here too. They might be able to go over and give you some pointers.
Sure. Just, I have a list, so if the boys ask me, I can say, well, the town's looking to do this. I give them some direction.
Yeah, we can try to help with that.
Yeah.
Well,
We can
thank
have
you,
a
guys.
running tab on them.
Yeah.
The signs at the cemetery, they have like different sections. He's gonna be here at 8:30, and I thought we would catch the boys, but where are you guys?
I will see him the morning of holidays in Halifax.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
we usually hide the flags in the barn.
Okay, yeah, that's what he was saying, like
That's
different
right.
sections, because nobody knows where they are, so he's like, oh, that would be a lot different.
Absolutely.
I said, let Mr. Burgess.
I'll find him.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Great.
So just, when you're ready to get started, just reach out to me so I can get you on the next agenda for the Board of Trustee meeting. It's just a formality, just to let them know what the plans are, see if they have any ideas, what they'd like to see too, so.
When is that next meeting?
Well, we're gonna meet probably in January, but that's really just, it's my review. And, but like to approve the budget, so maybe at the February meeting?
I think that's too far ahead. So, because Joe's going, hopefully, to council next week. for this
Oh,
approval.
okay.
So we need to get these approvals as soon as this week.
Okay, I can put you on the agenda for the December meeting,
When is that?
December 10th?
I think the council meeting's on the 4th.
It is the 4th, so.
It's not really an approval, I think you've got your.
Just a review.
It's FYI.
But it's
It's
more
just-
like a, yeah, if they had kind of, any suggestions or anything that they'd like to see, and
Okay.
just kind of like that.
Okay. Do you want to tentatively do that?
Okay.
Sure.
On the 10th?
Yeah.
That would be great.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome.
All right, gentlemen.
Once again, I'm looking forward to the ceremony.
Absolutely. I'll let you know.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
This time, don't have them throw eggs at me when I
I
stand
won't,
up.
I promise.
Have a good night, guys.
I haven't done the library. Is there an
So I spoke to Bill Kelly.
Troy, can you sign that?
Tired of signing stuff.
Thank you.
Do we make the motion, he has to sign a piece of paper like 50 times?
Good seeing you.
He has signed everything.
Geez, cleared out a room. They're gone.
Nobody really likes this, they just wanted stuff.
Okay.
Well, sorry to bring you back to the budget.
Finances, always goes back
The
there.
dreary science. So my feeling unfortunately now is, as much as I went to the meeting of Silver Lake and indicated, I think that they need to do a revenue-driven budget with a assumed amount on the assessment. I think, I don't want to say stronger, but maybe reiterate that, but provide them with a specific number to say that the assessment for the three towns should not go up more than a certain percent. For us, 90,000, for instance, is 2%. And I know that we should be at the low end. I don't know what the percentages would be for the other two communities, but it can't be much more than, the overall can't be so much more, that it'd be so much more than 2%, because then we're gonna start digging into the budgets for the other.
Yeah, so, I mean, the reason why I brought that up was because just the budget, to keep everything the same, it's probably 700,000. And if state aid doesn't change, we've got to take that whole.
Are we accounting for the charter schools taking a bigger bite?
I don't have an accounting of what the drop in the charter school reimbursement will be, but on the last 3 years, I would say Chapter 70 hasn't gone up more than $50,000 total. I mean, for that,
It's just been the minimal aid.
right, so, I mean, the elementary school got $45,000 last year and $65,000 the year before. So Silver Lake's an issue. I just want to bring up the fact that last night at the, I'll wait for Troy.
Thanks.
Is that dunce cap, or what is the,
No, this is the exact size.
of the urn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes it easy so you can see exactly what.
So to bring everybody up to date on the budget side of the elementary school, last night we had our meeting and we had a lot of parents in the room who were asking us to increase a teacher for grade 3, which graduates 2029, because the class size is 25 students. The average class size is 25 students.
So
And
we've
they
got
feel that
100,
that's
so we've
too
got
high.
100 kids, or?
Yeah, it's 100 kids in that. That's the highest in there. The kindergarten right now is 64 students. So there was discussions about adding a student, moving, not adding a student, adding a teacher, shifting a teacher, adding, we got the request in from the union where they'd like to see us add a teacher. They'd like to see us add a special ed teacher so that grades 2 through 6 have their own specialists assigned to them, a math tutor, and some other issues. So the parents came. This is the biggest meeting that I've seen in probably 3 or 4 years that I've been going to school committee meetings, as you know, any role that I've had.
I was a member of the finance, and
Yep.
I was a member of the school committee.
So the parents from that grade are interested in adding a teacher. So I just want to make the board aware, because just the average increases for the elementary school year to year have been about 120 to 145-ish. So with your numbers, basically the school's wiping out 80% of the funds. And if people ask for another teacher, I just want to bring that up, that ask was out there, and it wasn't the school committee's ask without parents at this point.
Are there any negotiated requirements? Do we have any, that if we reach a certain level, it has to be so many teachers?
No.
And none of that's
No.
incorporated
No.
in any contracts?
No.
Can any of this be done with aides?
So what the parents were looking for is to drop the number. They would like to see the 5 kids from each current teacher be assigned to a new teacher.
So that it drops the class load to 20?
Yes.
520s instead of 425.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just want to bring everybody up to speed on what happened at the meeting last night.
And what grade is this again?
Grade 3 right now. So the parents were told at the meeting that you'll have to be active at town meeting if you want to see that pass, because at least my thought was I wouldn't put that within the regular budget. I would put that as a special article and allow the townspeople to vote on that separately.
To at least debate it, yeah.
So that they get to direct those funds. Because that would be the only way for them to say.
Technically, once the funds go to school,
Well,
but I understand, but morally, there'd be an imperative that the town voted for this.
Voted all at once.
Yeah. So that's another possibly $80,000-ish floating out there that So that's $400,000 right there for 2 departments.
And there goes my big check.
But what I could say in terms of a level service is, you know, and I think the board puts that in every year, which is, you know, this is subject to change. Now, I mean, because we are being conservative on our revenue numbers, and we do that on purpose. But you know, so I think, you know, I think things will be better in a few months than they are now, but not necessarily that much better.
Well, I can attest to growth, there isn't much.
Yeah.
So, you know, we haven't got that to look
You know,
for.
and we know, you know, union, non-union at 2% is going to be roughly $90,000 to $100,000. That's not including the schools, just the wages alone. And that doesn't include the step increases, which overall are minimal because we have so many people at the step size.
Yeah, at the top step.
And we are, just so, we're in negotiations this year with the cafeteria workers, paraprofessionals, the teachers, and the custodial staff. So just the
whole kit and caboodle.
Everything's up for
And
negotiation.
I think Silver Lake, you have negotiations.
Silver Lake is also the teachers, and supposedly now the support staff just sent a letter in saying that they want to start negotiations. So I will be busy at those meetings as well because I'm on negotiations for both.
So what would the board want me to send out to people, and then specifically at least to send out to Silver Lake?
I think what you initially proposed is to put them on notice and to ask that you're supportive of not a needs-based budget, but
Well, we're saying level service.
Level service, but
with obviously the asterisk, everything changes.
Yeah.
But with Silver Lake to say that, well, we can, right now, the outlook is that we could possibly afford a 2.5% increase in the assessment gross for the 3 towns. No?
Well,
I know that's minimal. I mean, that's less than they're going to be looking for, obviously.
Well, I think you got to start.
Yeah, so the gross assessment is around $14.5–15 million. So,
which means through 280 to 300,000, which is a heck of a lot less than 7.
Right, but I'm just saying from the salary side, it's been about, it was 6, it was 60, 61, it was 66.1. It's gonna be 7 just following the math. So with no state aid increases, so to speak, we're looking at it just at least that much to keep the same staff the way they are, which is double what it, almost more than double.
Because when I took, when I ran the numbers again, I took the debt out because those numbers were known. I know the health insurance I figured in the retirement. It's a little bit, that 430 is a little bit less than 2% increase in the overall budget and the rest of the budget. Now, the non-debt, non-health insurance, non-retirement. We could probably do a 2% increase overall once the state aid numbers are in and things like that, but it's not going to be much more.
Well, when will we know about the state aid?
State aid, the governor's budget would be out usually the last week of January. But it's, it will now be material in that it may make the difference between being able to do this and not do this, but in terms of the actual dollars, it's going to be minimal because both Silver Lake and the Halifax Elementary, for the most part, they've been hitting the minimum per student amounts in the sense of what, if they're giving out $35 a student, that's what we get. We don't get more than that. And the Chapter 70 bill that just got passed, if I remember right, basically sort of held us harmless in the sense of the percentage of taxes versus percentage of Chapter 70 is going to be about the same here. At Silver Lake, it was going down. So.
Thank you.
I would say from the board that we request that the assessment be no more than 2.5% more.
Gross or for the town?
The assessment.
No, but the assessment for the 3 towns combined or just Halifax?
Well, so the other aspect that you have is the shift.
Right.
So the shift should subtract some money. So
you're talking about the population.
Well, population shift should subtract, but I think long term, I don't see us being able to sustain a 4% increase to the assessment numbers, because eventually, now, maybe my math's wrong, because I've been questioned on it by some of the Silver Lake members. But I think it shifts back to Halifax's percentage increasing.
In a few years, it starts going back up. Yeah, you have the numbers, I have the numbers. We ran the census, and that's what, it's pretty easy arithmetic.
But the caveat that they brought up was Kingston's looking at some major
I think
residential developments.
Okay.
So that was the caveat that was thrown. But from the numbers that we have, that's what we have to work
And
with.
the other point I wanted to make about the assessment is that this doesn't take into account the interest by Silver Lake, and I guess the vote's already taken to move some of the Silver Lake costs into the shared costs.
Yes.
Thereby, okay, well, we're gonna pay one way or the other, but now it's on the Silver Lake budget, so they have to account for that when we're talking about the change in assessment.
What I'm gonna request is that you take the budget shift into account and tell us what Silver Lake assessment should be now before we put in this year's numbers, basically. Because we're gonna still have to pay that same amount from the Halifax
Yeah,
budget.
we're paying for it, we're just not paying in that budget.
Right. But that shouldn't allow the Silver Lake budget to start at X after they've cut
Yeah,
their
after they've
costs.
taken, that should be reduced at that.
So
Yeah,
bottom
yeah, absolutely.
line, what are we gonna be sending to Silver Lake concerning our budget, overall gross, or just?
No, you gotta talk about the assessment, not the gross.
No, but I'm talking about the three towns' total assessment.
In other words, he's saying he wants a 2.5% for all three towns.
The total.
Overall, the total.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what we need to say from this hat that I'm wearing right now.
If I heard it correctly, right? Go ahead.
And then there will be a 3-town finance committee meeting
Right, next month.
in December, yes.
Scott, you can come up here, you don't have to sit out back.
I like it back there.
The camera still gets you, Scott.
Yeah, no, but closer to the door.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, Steve said we can start on his.
Well, can I have some official direction?
Yeah.
2.5% overall growth for all three towns.
But otherwise,
Am I correct on
I
that?
think so, yeah.
That's your motion?
Yep.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
and otherwise I'll send the rest of the letter out as we've already discussed. I don't know if I know that when Keith didn't indicate that anybody was coming from water, I know that there's going to be still working on this aspect of the union, the mixed unit, yeah. But I know we want to talk about cremation first. So,
Careful, Troy.
Go to it.
All right, well, I gave you guys a pamphlet there, and then,
the advantages of cremation.
a lot cheaper. I don't know if you've got the numbers right there in front of you, but, I wanted to see if I could get these prices so I can start selling these things. Because I've had a lot of people, about a ton, but a few people have been interested in. I've actually had a couple of sold and they don't even know the price yet. So,
They just gave you a check and said, write them down.
no, they're basically on hold.
I mean, bottom line, you've done the work, Steve. I mean, are these good prices? Are they too low? Are they middle?
I think they're lower than many of the other communities.
Yeah, I got a bunch of different prices from other towns, and I'm in the middle and low on some, but it's still,
Is that where we want to be?
what's that, please? On each, I broke it down so you can see that if I sold all 4 of the single pillars, the town would make $1,280. If I sold them non-residents, it's $2,080. And that's just on a single pillar.
But you get to maintain them in perpetuity, right?
Right. And I have the price of, where did I put that one? The single pillow costs the town $180 a piece to buy. which I'd be selling them for 500.
What would the annual maintenance cost be to you?
It's just it's still, you have to pay the perpetual care.
Oh, so the perpetual care pays for, helps pay for mowing around
Right,
that deer and maybe washing the monuments every once in a while, things like that.
right,
Yes.
but this is all just money that would go back into buying more of these.
But is there no, I guess the perpetual care cost you have on the front sheet?
Yep, $150.
So that's a one-time?
That's the one time. It's the same as the rest of the cemetery.
So
And if anybody buys a lot or anything, it's $150.
So that all the perpetual care money goes in the perpetual care fund. We can use the interest off that
Right,
to
just the
maintain.
interest.
Yeah.
Well, at 1.75%, it doesn't accumulate to too
No.
much. I'm just concerned that we're not getting enough, that's all.
I mean, we could go more, but I think we're still making a decent amount of money to buy more and do work in the cemetery with that money.
And how many,
This goes in this, the money that we'd be collecting here goes in the sale of lots and graves
Lots and
account.
graves.
Okay.
Well, that was another question I had, if we do this cremation thing, could we set up a different account just for the cremations, or would it have to go
I
into
think we
the...
talked to Sandy about that and look at the state laws.
Yeah. It's just because it's a whole different...
Right, no, I understand what
system
you're
to pay for.
talking about, yeah. I don't think, of course, I don't think the state laws envision this, and they haven't been rewritten, those sections haven't been rewritten for a while,
Right.
so I think we start off with Sandy, and then if we need advice from the state or something, we get it.
But I don't think it would really make that much of a difference if I still took it out of lots and graves, or...
Yeah, it's certainly, I'm sure we could put the money in lots of graves, I just don't know whether we can do a separate account just for the cremation money. I'm not saying we can't, I just don't know.
Okay.
too many accounts. And this is,
And that is, if you look at the pictures of the vault, the niches itself,
yeah, I think that's what I want to ask you. What exactly am I looking at here?
okay, so that's,
Right here? That's a double?
this right here is what the ashes would go into. And this right here would fit
About that
into
size?
this. That's the exact size that would fit in, and that would go into these holes. Either one of those. So this is a double boulder, double pillar, and a single
No,
pillar.
double boulder just meaning the size of it, right?
Two
Two
of
urns.
these, 2 urns would fit in that.
Okay. What am I looking at here?
Oh, this is after, if these actually sell, when we do well selling them, I'd like to at some point start getting family,
Okay,
like this would be a family plot that we could set up in a different spot of the
Oh, okay,
cremation garden.
that's
And
where I
what- Yeah,
get
that's
the-
what this and this is.
cool. That's where I get a little confused.
That was just a,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
things
yeah,
work
right.
out, we can go that
Gotcha.
way.
I think it will, because cremation.
You got any more questions?
So, looking at this,
That's, sorry, it's not that great of a thing, but
No,
it's
it's
just
fine.
basically showing how, this is the main road
yeah,
right here. And coming into the garden, this is gonna be,
these patio blocks?
no, it's stamped concrete.
Oh, okay.
I already have a price on that for next spring. And then the double boulders would be coming along here. And this will be like a curbing. So that's like a double, a single, so as they sell, we can just
Yeah.
add it, and it'll go around the edge. And then those other ones, we could put
You're gonna put
in
in
different
here?
spots.
Are they easily moved?
They're permanent once you put them down. They're about the size, some of these are a little bit smaller than a regular stone, headstone.
Okay.
What's,
And this right here, some people do not want to go above ground, so I figured the extra space I'd be selling
For plots.
plots. And that was my question. There's also in here, there's these little vaults you can put them in.
Yes, saw those.
Because some people don't buy urns for them and they just want us to put them in the ground in the cardboard.
The
The
box
box.
you get from the
Yeah, and after a while that will deteriorate.
Yeah.
It's ashes, but still, I'd rather have it so if we're digging
Yeah, I-
next to it,
Absolutely.
rather hit a vault instead of a
Yeah, I'm part of that.
ashes. Yeah,
I totally agree.
so is that what
I
those?
like that. I think that's a nice
yeah, that's
idea.
a,
It's well thought out.
Yeah.
That's-
You guys ready to make a decision? You found-
Oh, and that other, this here is Whitman Vault. They, I started off saying I wanted to do the wall,
Right.
but I got $10,000 to start this. That, just one of these
Is most of that-
11,000.
Yeah, it doesn't work. I like the way you're approaching it. And
I
then-
think this way it's
then you
more
graduate
individual and,
into the-
yeah, right. And we have a whole section over here that can be added to this.
Extended. I'm on board. I think that's a great idea. I think you did a nice job.
Motion?
I'm so moved that we accept the concept and the price sheet.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Okay. Nice job.
And I hired somebody, by the way.
You did.
Yeah, he starts the 9th.
Good.
He's from Halifax.
So you still one down?
Yeah, I'm down 2. I
After
only got
him?
2 guys right now.
Because Dave is still on.
Dave's still out, yeah, we'll find out about him tomorrow. So,
Find out in what respect, whether he's retiring
how
or
long he'll be
oh,
out.
just he got hurt on the
He's,
job.
No, not on the job.
No, he had
He's
a knee
on vacation.
replacement. Did he
No, he
have?
broke his kneecap.
Oh, jeez.
So, we'll find out tomorrow how much longer he's been out for 3 weeks now. So, I've only had 2 guys for about a month. People are calling, kind of complaining, saying things aren't getting done, but with 2 people, what can you do?
Yeah, you're understaffed to begin with, in my opinion. You really should have had another guy a long time ago.
Yeah, well, with Scott and Keith, they let me borrow one of their guys once in a while if we need them,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I gotta say, you guys did an excellent job on 58. I haven't spilled my drink since you put it on.
Yeah,
What was it, somebody was complaining that it's not noisy enough?
yeah, no, you can't,
Yeah.
you can't get him, he gets a full night's sleep now.
Okay,
All right.
anything further you need with us, Steve?
Nope, that's it on the
But
cremation.
we needed to go into I don't know if Pam has other business.
I think we got it.
Oh,
Oh, what about
Oh,
the
wait,
stop?
Bill. Oh, my God.
What about the stop, and did you guys decide?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Stop signs.
We're putting
Stop
them
sign.
on the streets coming in, so on
Yeah,
Cedar
two
and
that
Wood
I
coming
marked
in.
on.
Yeah, the way you have it marked up.
Okay, what about, can I tweak that intersection by getting rid of some of the asphalt, or does that make a difference?
That's up to you, isn't it?
You're the
It's
highway
not a state
surveyor.
road, so
No.
I don't have to go through the
No.
state.
Well, you're the highway surveyor.
You want to make it more of a T?
Wide,
Yeah,
and I wanted to bring it over to the left, so you have to stop instead of just taking a.
Right.
yeah. I actually made that comment when we were
Yeah,
talking
good.
about it.
I'm sorry, so what did I miss? Cory?
Oh, yeah, the bills. We did.
The bills, I didn't motion the bills. I was, nothing.
That one needs another signature.
I was thinking of signing it.
I know, it gets confusing. It's not rocket science, but it does get confusing.
Okay, so I would move the approval of a bill from Property and Casualty Group, Inc. for $1,073 from the insurance line for that amount.
Second.
All in
you're gonna do
favor?
them- Oh, he's gonna do them all, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Do them all?
CNA Surety Direct Bill. Thank you. It's an employee dishonesty bond for $737.97.
Ironically.
Coming from the insurance line again. And National Grid, how do you say that? How do you guys pronounce that? EG?
NG.
NG. One for the National Grid is $459.16. NG is $470.66 coming from the town hall electricity bill line for a total of $929.82.
Second.
Do you sign that one?
Yep, I signed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, now we can move ahead.
Pam, is there any other business for the board to do in public session?
No, I think we're good. I can catch it. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so I'm going to ask if the board would vote to go into executive session to discuss the negotiations for the next unit for bargaining. We're going through the contract process with them, as conversation on that matter would be detrimental to the town's position in the negotiations. And to have Scott and Steve here for that.
Gordon?
I make the motion and
Second?
say yes.
Yes.
Can we take like a 3-minute break to go to the bathroom?
Sure.
Everyone say yes, everyone say yes?
Yes, yes.